Hi, Sean Still, and in this video, we're actually going to talk about how we use Jira in our sprint planning. So we're going to navigate to our test project, and our test project has an active sprint going on. So we have stories that the team is working on, represented on our sprint board or our information radiator. Here they are. But while the team is in the middle of its sprint and working to complete these stories, we really need to start and look at our next sprint because we don't want to leave that till the last minute. And that is done in the backlog. All right, so in the backlog, our very first one at the top always represents our active sprint. So we're going to leave that one alone for now. And we're going to focus on our next sprint or our planned sprint, and that is represented by this right here. All right, in this case, day 2, mostly certain. Now, the reason why I gave these things, these sprints, these names, is our active sprint, we are very certain as to what we need to do to accomplish our goal for our sprint. All right. But the further out we go, the less and less certain we become. All right. So day 2, it's mostly certain. You pretty much know what you need to accomplish in the next sprint. All right. But there can be some adjustments that need to be made. The further out we go, we get then kind of certain. By day 4 we're uncertain, then a little later on we have no idea, and then past that it's a total guess. So we always want to focus on the short term, because if we go out, the further we go out, the less certain we become. So let's only focus on what we are either certain about or mostly certain about and begin to build that out. So this one is going to be our next sprint that we need to plan for. Now, very early on in a team, before the team matures, they don't have an established velocity. All right, velocity is the number of stories that the team completed within their sprint. They will oftentimes overcommit and underdeliver, and there's nothing. They're not doing anything intentional there. They're generally being a little over optimistic. All right, so in the very early stages of a team's maturation, they will hit and miss their sprint targets often. All right, but as the team matures, they will become the velocity will stabilize. All right, and it will get tighter and tighter. Okay, so in this case, we've got 13 issues at a total of 32 points, and we can see those numbers up here in the active sprint. All right, we've got 17 points that are in progress, and we've got 15 that are done. All right, so that's a total of 32. So we want to aim for something around 32. We don't know if the team is going to complete all 32 of those stories. So we're going to go a little bit light. All right. And I like to go about 75%, especially for a new team. All right. So these stories right here are in our planned sprint, and we've got 10 issues, but that represents 31 points. And in our first sprint, we pulled in 32. All right. So that's really kind of too close for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to automatically drop a couple of stories down into the next sprint until I get to a number that I'm a little bit more comfortable with. So now that I've dropped those two out, all right, now I'm at 26 points, and I'm happy with that. So if some of the stories don't get completed within our active sprint, they can roll over here and kind of still fit inside of this bucket. And oftentimes, a new team will have stories that roll over from one sprint to the next. All right. So I want to leave a little bit of room for that. Now, if at the end of the sprint, the team delivered everything that they said they were going to deliver, well, I can take those stories that I previously did into the next planned sprint, and I can bring them up into this one. And now you can see we're back to 31. So we've filled up our bucket. So in your planned sprint, make sure that you leave some room for work that rolls over from one sprint to the next. All right. That really should only be a factor on a team that is relatively new and still hasn't matured. Once you do get a mature team, the number of stories that roll over from one sprint to the next should decrease, and it should get down to 0. The reason why we want it to be at 0 is because these are the stories that the team is making a commitment to. They are basically promising, hey, we are going to do everything within our power to get all of these stories done within the time box allowed, our sprint. And it's important that the team live up to this. Because if the team does not live up to this, we begin to have trust issues between the team, the scrum master, product owner, and the customer. But if the team does consistently deliver on what they committed to, then trust begins to build. But in the early stages of a team, like I said, they're going to hit and miss a lot. So I want to make sure that I leave some room for that. All right, so as I'm planning out my sprint, I'm going to leave it a little light. I can always pull in more stories as necessary. Also, as we're going through these stories, the team is reviewing them. And when the team reviews the stories, if they have any questions, if they have any clarifications, some additional information that is needed, typically the Scrum Master is going to be facilitating that, and they can open up the story and add whatever information is relevant as I want so that with acceptance criteria. All right, at this point, if they know who's going to work on the story, they can assign it to somebody if they want to. Come on. I don't know why that's not working, but whatever. We'll go ahead and we'll assign it to me. You can see my name showed up on it now. If they need to adjust the labels, if the story point, after they've looked at the story and reviewed it, and they say, you know what, this story is not a 3-point story, it's actually a 5, they can go ahead and adjust that right here. And there you go. So the stories get more and more refined. Again, this all happens while the active sprint is happening. If the priorities change, like I showed you in previous videos, you can just simply drag and drop priority. It's always important to let the team negotiate this priority order. For instance, this story may have the highest priority, but the team may say, well, you know what, if we do this story right here, it will actually help this story out, all right, and help it go faster. So the team can have the negotiation with the product owner on what the actual priorities should be. When we're all said and done, at the bottom here it tells us how many issues we've got and what the point value is on those issues. And that's how we do a planned sprint. Yeah, so looking forward to talking to you in the next video. Thank you much. Bye.